Hey, welcome to this week's edition of the Big Venture Zone. This is the show that is created and geared to help Gen Z entrepreneurs and founders. We're here to support, share ideas, strategies, and provide a community for our younger generation to succeed in business and life, and they're feeling it. Our guest this week is Alex Baisley, and I'm going to read you his bio. It's a little different, but it's a great bio. One spring afternoon, after 20 years of making bad decisions in his work and direction, Alex had a brainwave, and it changed everything, especially with what he now does with his Big Dream program. Alex is helping others, and as a result, the Big Dream program that he launched many years ago is a true success. Alex spent a long time trying to figure out what the F to do with his life, and after too many careers going on, one as a commercial diver, then a Reiki master. You can see the connection between the two. Well, you do need to be zen if you're diving, you don't want to have, so you need that. Anyway, Alex discovered that he still hadn't cracked the code as far as career was concerned, and was just thinking maybe he just missed the boat. And then one April afternoon, according to Alex, he suddenly realized his problem. He was trying to answer the wrong questions to figure it all out. Turns out, what would I like to do is very unhelpful and trap making question for many of us. And it's been keeping many of us stuck for decades. And he realized that most people with lots of interests, passions, and care for the world and ambition to experience a lot in life are going to are going about figuring out their work and income and lifestyle ideas in the wrong way. And according to Alex, mainstream models of figuring out what the F to do with your life and work, it ends really badly for us. And we get in the cycle of keeping on searching and being unhappy. So since that April afternoon, Alex has been teaching classes online, working with clients, and sometimes traveling around North America, often with his family, a tent, and a laptop, teaching workshops, helping to bring a taste of freedom and a new approach to greatness to folks who just knew they had it in them but couldn't find it. Alex heads up the Big Dream program. Alex Baisley, welcome to the Big Venture Zone.
Thank you so much, David. It's fun listening to that,
I,
and you know yourself when you write bios and stuff that they need to be updated once in a while. I was thinking you were probably going to say about I usually have the kids in tow when I'm teaching workshops, but I'm an empty nester now. The kids have long since moved out.
well,
Anyway, thanks for having me.
maybe they'll bring you in tow, like
Yeah, yeah,
turn the
exactly.
tables.
Yeah, one can only hope.
Yeah, they will. They'll come around, I'm sure.
They'll come around.
So I'm going to talk about the thing, okay? So you help people do their thing, their gift, maybe help them do what their soul is crying out for. How do we find our thing? And I'm using quotation marks.
Yeah, right. Honestly, David, that I mean, the biggest thing that all the people that come to me who have the same problem that I had and couldn't figure it out is they have so many interests. That's the
Mhm.
main problem. The folks that are interested in the Big Dream program are people who really want to make a difference in the world, feel like they're here to do so, and yet they have so many interests and ideas, and they have journals full of ideas and about 14 business names and to 20 URL, domain names. They cannot figure out what's their thing amongst all of that. And to cut right to the chase and answer your question, I have advice, of course, in the Big Dream program, and people don't have to take it. They just I'll present it, and they run it through their filters. And that piece of advice is don't choose. That's the number one thing that we've been doing wrong. And instead, give your think about place design like a restaurant or a retreat center. just think of it through a place design versus you're a specialist. So a retreat center has many different things happening in it, and yet the retreat center still makes sense. And so I'm suggesting to these people is instead of trying to pick your lane, am I an architect or am I a forest bathing expert?
Mm.
How about give your place a name like the Big Dream program? And then fill it with your favorite things and give your place a purpose in the world. And then all of a sudden, you don't have to choose. You can put all 20 things you're interested in the same retreat center in quotation marks, as long as it's got a name and you can make a really good argument as to its purpose in the world. Boom, problem solved. Like, so then, you can move on tomorrow as this new version of yourself with a place in quotation marks versus a specialty. So that's one of the tricks.
All right, and how could we then? That's a nice way to start to find our thing, not be so married to just one idea. Maybe there could be multiple aspects to what you're doing. That then brings us to my next question. And does it start to find our thing? Does it start also too from a place of joy and joy for ourselves, but also joy in who we serve too? Is that an
Oh,
important aspect?
oh, so very important, David. I don't even know where to put, like, that's a whole hour's conversation and a beautiful one. And yes, joy, although I would put some nuance to that. I would say that when people land on their thing or some version of their thing,
Hmm.
what I find from people, because I have been doing this 20 years and I get to see the trajectory of people like over years, which is a great data point. Um, I find that it's not so much joy or bliss or those words that are often bandied around in self-help books. It's usually something like rightness, alignment. Like if you ask a PhD, someone trying to finish their PhD dissertation, is that joy for you? They'd probably snap your head off. No, it's not joy. This is really goddamn tough. Like it's it's that it's right. If you ask a parent of a 3-year-old, how's the bliss going? And they go, well, I'm not so much of that, but is it right? It's so right. This is exactly what I meant to be doing. And it's that rightness, I think, that we've been craving inside if we have not had it and need it. I don't know if everyone needs it, but the people that need it and don't find it suffer. And so that's what we're trying to solve here at the Big Dream program is can we find that rightness? And so yeah, there is a kind of a joy, but it's a different kind of joy than just sort of Pollyanna on a
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'm glad you sort of clarified that because, yes, it's important to be joyous, but as we know in our work and our businesses, it's not, always, rainbows and candy, or joy. We're gonna
Hasn't
have the
been for
moment,
me. Maybe I'm just a slow learner though, David.
but we're gonna have our moments, But the thing, if we find that thing, if we find that alignment, if we find that rightness, um, is it easier to lose ourselves in the work we do, where hours can feel like minutes? Like if
Yeah,
once we
that
arrive there,
flow thing.
yeah. So do you notice that when working with your clients that they get into this flow state and running and doing their thing, uh, again quotes, it seems a little more palpable.
Yes, it sure does. It sure does, David. They also there's the lack of spinning the wheels feeling, I think. And so if we kind of know what we're doing, even if we don't know the exact steps and we don't know the exact moves that are going to work and stuff, but if we have a sense we know what we're doing. Imagine a permaculture farm or someone dreaming of building a permaculture organic farm, in their back 40. It's not built yet, and they're going to have to make a whole lot of decisions. There will be a lot of experiments, but they know that's what they want. When
Yeah.
you get to that stage, then yes, there's kind of an alignment that kicks in. Can you ask your question again? I forgot exactly what you
It's just
asked.
about losing ourselves in
Oh,
our work.
losing ourselves. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think a main lesson here in the Big Dream program too is also about daily lifestyle. And if we didn't include that, then I think we would lose ourselves possibly too much. in
Mm.
the work direction. And it starts with, I won't tell the whole story, but just a very brief version of this Tale of the Two Barbers, which is how
Right.
the Big Dream program started.
Yeah.
And it all boils down to the fact that we got two brothers who turn out they want to be barbers. And one becomes a normal barber, as you'd expect, with a barber shop and so on. And 20 years later, he's not happy. It's because he's been stuck in a barber shop the whole time. It has nothing to do with barbering. His brother made a decision early on in this story, in this tale, that he suddenly realized he didn't want to be stuck in a barber shop. So he made a very different decision out of the gate, which was, I really like hanging out with older folks like my grandmother and stuff. And I noticed that they have trouble getting out to get their hair cut and stuff.
Right.
And so what if I traveled around to old folks in their homes, and cut their hair? Well, I could try it out. Doesn't cost anything to try it out. If I'm wrong, I'll get a barbershop, right? He tries it out, and the story goes on from there. And of course, it's very successful, and he ends up being an advocate for older folks and writing books and stuff. And so I'm kind of giving the whole punchline of the tale because we don't have time for the tale. But at the end of that tale, one person said they found their calling, and the other brother said he didn't. And yet they were both barbers. And so that's where the kind of daily lifestyle weaves into this, David. If we're only talking about work, and if I'm being interviewed on a podcast only talking about work, then I might do someone a disservice because I truly think that the daily life is the only thing that's real. Everything else is ideas and concepts, but how do they play out? They have to play out on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Where are you? With whom? Doing what? That's the only question to answer, really. And so the lifestyle, and then you sort of back the business into it, just like the barber number two did. Or that's my suggestion. And so therefore you can get lost in all of it and yet not be lost.
Right. I got it. And they both served, but the mobile barber served a bigger and greater purpose.
In the end, he did, and he didn't
Yeah.
even intend to, frankly. He was being selfish in a good way. Like, what does a person like me need on a daily basis, what lifestyle-wise, in order to thrive? And because he did that, he ended up unlocking more potential in himself and becoming an advocate, a worldwide advocate for older folks that he never intended in the first place. So I think that's an example of like if we were plants and you're a pine tree and I'm some other kind of tree, and we have to be planted in certain kind of soil and certain kind of environments, and your environment might be a little bit different than me. So when we're figuring out our moves in life, we have to figure out what soil we got to be planted in. Because if I'm the pine tree planted in non-pine tree soil, everything is going to be tough. And that the equivalent of that soil is our daily lifestyle, I would say, David.
Yeah. And the idea of giving back to others, because what you give, you get back like tenfold usually.
Ah, and right, and being in the right kind of environment where you can,
Yeah.
where you're resourced enough by some of your decisions. This isn't about getting everything right, but if we get this, everything we're talking about, if we get this 10% right, boy, we can even live on that the rest of our lives. It feels so darn good compared to normal life design, which doesn't tend to serve a whole lot of people. 86% of people, according to a Gallup poll 10 years ago, are, what did it say? Unengaged with their work. That wasn't quite disengaged with their work, I think was
Yeah.
the
The
word.
employee engagement, it
Yeah,
actually dropped more this year, by the way.
got it.
Like
Got it.
the employee engagement
Yeah.
rate, especially in North America, but around the world. But in North America, it dropped to its all-time lowest this past year.
Is that lowest in terms of dismal or lowest in terms of it's improved?
Dismal.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
so if something was not working 86% of the time or more, if it was a factory that we owned, we would scrap the line. We would
Yeah.
make some kind of change. And I think the things we're talking about, not my opinions, but the things we're talking about here, somewhere in here are the levers to make a change for ourselves,
Yeah.
find our own direction and live a little differently.
I totally agree. We talked before coming on a little bit about the economy and the state of affairs. Um, how can we create the thing that sustains us,
Mhm.
that can actually sustain us through a downturn or a bad economy or what have you?
So
That's also a big factor, you know, like for a lot of people.
it's such a big factor. And like I was
Money.
saying to you before when we talked, and I do have some suggestions here, but I also don't want to be a bull in a china shop for anyone listening to this who's seriously suffering right now on
Mhm.
at the hands of the economy, at the
Yeah.
hands of perhaps AI taking over their previous
Yes.
roles. So I understand it's shockingly difficult, and there's nothing easy about this, and not all of it is up to us as an individual. It's a collective, systemic thing. So with that caveat in place, an important caveat in place, I'd say two things. Number one is everyone, at least that I work with, and I think you, by from what I know of you, are people that are trying to make some kind of a contribution in the world. That's part of their motivation.
Mhm.
And so when do we need contributions the most? When do we need someone helping the world the most? When the world is struggling, right? And not even just for now, but this is going to change. What does the Buddhists say? The one thing you can count on is change.
Yeah.
So even if this is the most challenging time, why not treat this as, well, this is the time to build my work then? Because either it's going to work in a tough economy or anyway, or else I'm going to be ready when things change. And secondly, is just the math. Depends on the kind of business, but most of the businesses I work with are not commodity business. None of them are. In fact, they're
Right.
all in kind of coaching, workshop teaching, climate stuff, scientists, consultants, people that need somewhere between 20 and 100 people from the entire planet to pay them this year to earn all the money they need. So the math bears out there. So if a person is truly following their passion, learns the skills of connecting with people and marketing, the things that are needed to make the
Mhm.
connection,
Sure.
then are you sure you can't find 20 people despite the economy, despite everything? Are you sure you can't find 20 people that wouldn't want your service or what you're offering this year? And are you sure there's not 20 people that want it even more in these times? So I'm just I'm suspicious, I suppose, if we just throw out the baby with the bathwater and say my business is down, I can't do anything about it. It's because of the economy. If you're in a commodity business, you're probably right. You're going to suffer for a while, or
Sure.
if there's some other reason. But
Yeah.
otherwise, if it's just the math, I think this is the time to really go deep on what we care about the most. Stop being bland. Just go deep on what you're most passionate about and find 20 people on the planet that are just as passionate about that. They'll be your clients.
Yeah. You're right. And you don't need a lot of clients. You know, if 20 people, you have 20 clients, and let's say they spent $10,000 a year with you, that's 200,000.
See
Now,
what I mean? Yeah. So the
yeah,
math bears out.
yeah. And now you've got your expenses and things
Yep.
you have to pay, but still, you know, you should be making at least half that at the end of the day, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. Even businesses like I have a membership site, even businesses that have a different model and stuff, we're still talking a very small number of people, especially if you're online and can speak to the world, let's say. The other thing that I would say that there's been a lot of pivots, of course, because of AI than economy. For my clients, because I have a lot of therapists and coaches and so on, and people are turning to AI, to have these conversations
Mhm.
versus them.
Yeah.
What that has brought out has been beautiful and actually a bit of a win in the end, which is people, including myself, are spending more time with real people in real time. Like I have a client who is started an online writers group for women, Diane of Inner Wisdom Wayfinding, and she brings women together who are passionate about writing and have always wanted to write of any, it could be a book, journaling, it doesn't matter, but just that urge to write,
Yeah.
but who also want to change the world, and they're progressive folks, and the motto is something like for women who will not be silenced. So that's the kind of example of kind of togetherness, restorative type of social things that someone can offer in this climate, the political climate in this case, which is a beautiful thing for everybody. And projects like that are coming out of this situation
Yeah.
we're in. So as bad as it is, it's pretty interesting pressure that creates these kind of projects.
Right. And new ideas are being formed and
New ideas. Another thing we spoke about, David, was I just find people are being braver.
Yeah.
than before. Just in the current climate, let me not sort of throw a whole bunch of people under the bus here, but the current political climate is pretty
Yeah.
different from what a lot of us would like and stuff. And so what I notice is people who were otherwise too shy to come out with their message or to share their offering in the world and have it be a fairly personal to them, and not hide, not try to please everybody. Those people are coming out more bravely than before. They're thinking, goodness gracious, I have to do something.
Yeah.
And they're doing it.
I love it, and I'm glad to hear that. And I feel it's really important to take that leap. It's kind of like, well, I have nothing else to lose, so why not? You know?
Which doesn't hurt sometimes. I
No.
mean, I'm the first to admit that I'm a timid person. I'm not a brave person. I wish I were, but I'm not. And so I need to be stuck in a corner to make a lot of moves, especially because I'm a hermit. I'm very socially introverted. I suffer from social anxiety. I always have. It's getting a little better. But here I am having an interview with you, and of course I love it, but I wouldn't necessarily choose it if I wasn't in a position where I have to show up for my message. I can't throw my message out and then run and hide. And it's good for me, David. And I do find this with a lot of folks that I'm talking to is that the pressure can be good for them, which goes back to that joy thing we talked about in the beginning. It depends on the definition of joy, but it's not always joyful. Is it right? Yes, it's absolutely right.
Yeah, and then you're in alignment. You mentioned AI, and the thing. What about creating the thing we want to do? That AI won't replace.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous, like doing business coaching. You know what? I don't do a lot of coaching. I teach mostly, but AI
Yeah.
is replacing that too. So,
Oh, it is. And me too. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I think the invitation, it's scary, of course, but the invitation again is that we can be more personal with people. Uh, Speaking about myself and self-deprecatingly, because of like being a hermit, I'm kind of happy building an e-course and earning my income from the e-course, and never have to have a whole lot of interactions with others. In reality, that's not very good for me. Also, in reality, is when I have a conversation like this, it lifts me up for the whole day, including with clients and stuff. And so the answer to your question for at least us and my small data set of people is we're spending a whole lot more doing real stuff with real people, real conversations, real workshops. A client in where is she told North Carolina, who is bringing people together on her land or on the land that she's on, and she has dirt church and meditation and skill sharing, just like farm sharing, and where you buy a share of vegetables and you get your
yeah,
box.
yeah,
Same idea, except for skills sharing, and you pay in a membership, and then people teach you all this, stuff with your hands.
amazing.
And so I'm thinking things like that. There's obviously a lot more we could talk about in
Yeah,
that, but I'm thinking that stuff we do with real people and also maybe sharing more of our vibe versus just our information with the world. David, you're like I've known you a long time, and
mhm,
I said this when we reconnected, is that you're I don't know about the ratio, but you're half what you teach and what you care about, but it's half that is you that's carrying it. If someone else were to take the same information and say it, it's not the same thing. It's you have tremendous a huge caring, I think, for others and for people and the people you work with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this.
right.
And that caring somehow translate the information. It's like the plate on which the food is served. So AI can give you the food, all right. If it works, fine.
Yeah,
But for those 20 people or those 100 people, back to the math kind of thing, it's the fact that it's you plating it that that is going to matter, especially if we make the business more obvious that it's you plating it.
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of invitations here. Obviously, it's not going away anytime soon. I think we all feel fairly resigned to that. Maybe we shouldn't, but I think I feel fairly resigned to it.
Yeah.
So what's the silver lining? Aside from world fears about AI and stuff, I have all those things, but we're talking it sort of on a personal level.
I think that what you just said is that it's becoming more the personal touch, the more the human
Yeah.
connection, being with people, communing with people.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you for that compliment. What you see in me, my friend, is what I see in you, Alex.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
just that.
It must be nearly 20 years ago we connected,
Oh
15, I
yeah,
bet.
yeah. I
back in
never,
Toronto, somewhere along the way.
yeah,
Something to do with Tad Hargrave, like
Pat
marketing for
Hargrave
hippies.
at 401 Richmond in that big,
That's the one.
yeah,
The Inner Garden. Yep.
yeah. So in your bio, you knew you had a moment, like who knew? I mean, when you had that moment on that one April afternoon, um, that, you know, we needed to connect to our knowing and what we wanted to create, launch, or work at. So how did it come to you? Like, what happened in that moment? Like,
Hmm.
did the skies open up? Did God come down and go, Alex, it's you should be doing this. So what happened in that moment for you to arrive at you doing your thing, which here we are 20 years later.
Yeah, yeah, and it truly is. That story is not apocryphal or hyperbole. Like it actually happened on a spring afternoon, and I can picture the cup of coffee. I was halfway through the cup of coffee that I had just bought at a place nearby. I was a Reiki master in those days, commercial diver first. Finally got out of that into Reiki master. Now I'm helping people, and I'm warmer. Great, but I was still wrong, so I won't go into that whole story. But I was still not right, and I knew it. This isn't what I'm here for, even though it's better, and I don't understand what the matter is. I thought the matter was with me, actually. But it was one of those days that took 20 years of struggle as well as a lot of work, inner work to get to. But it did happen on one day, and the first thing that happened is that the two barbers. I stood up at a little walk around my office, my Reiki office, and I saw the two barbers. I was working on a workshop for something else, doesn't matter, and I was looking for a story to illustrate something. That's where my mind was. And all of a sudden, I saw the two barbers, and I saw them like in this flash, this moment, 20 years down their career, and I knew what happened. Like I knew one made this choice, one made that choice, and I don't know where the message came from, David. Like where's the source of such things? Whether it's inside me or I'm connected to something, I don't know. But I just sat down. I thought, number one, I know what I'm doing wrong is I love Reiki, but I hate being stuck in an office. And plus, I would rather be doing something with my kids. Barbara too showed me that I had squandered my daily lifestyle in service of my label, Reiki Master. Here's what you do as a Reiki Master, is you get an office like this and you offer. And so it was the barber story. And then the second thing, a little bit on the heels of that was, but Reiki alone is still not my thing either. So number one, lifestyle. Okay, I get it. Barber two, right. Well, I'll figure that out. Or maybe do Reiki a different way. Maybe I'll do Reiki in people's homes, like barber number two. And that's when I thought, no, that's not exactly it. Reiki feels like a box that's too small for me. I'm sharing this hoping that I'm not just telling my own story, but someone else will go and think, yeah, my label's a little too small for me too. Like a lawyer, architect, nurse, life coach, yoga teacher, if your label's too small, this is something worth considering. And that's when the idea of place design went through my mind. I thought of restaurants, retreat centers, music festivals. All of these businesses were surrounded by, and yet coaches, like I was, didn't think of setting up our business like those businesses. We thought of setting it up like coaches set it, like, like a dentist. Picture a dentist office. Of course, you can picture it. They're all the same. And I started thinking, well, if I wasn't attached to the label Reiki only, I'm not giving it up. But what if I had place design and I had the name Big Dream Program in the wings? Long story. I just called it something so that it makes sense in the world. And then in there, I'm going to include energy work, life design stuff, which I had been doing with Reiki clients anyway, and several other things. And all of a sudden, like instantly, all my problems went away because I wasn't trying to choose between these things. Which one is my thing? Wait a minute. If I step back, this is my thing. The larger thing, the place is my thing. And that goes back to your AI thing too, like that somatic meditation. I think this is relevant to a couple of your questions. I do a lot of somatic meditation with my clients. And it's a big piece of the Big Dream program because some things we find out through intuition and instinct and from our body out versus just our heads. So I just combined all those together. So that's the answer to your question of what happened on that spring day. So it literally changed that day. Within about 2 or 3 months, my business was vastly changed. Within a year, I had given up the office completely, and I was touring my workshops on the road with my two kids in the van, and we were camping and stuff. Like it was just phenomenal. And the business did better. That's the weird part, David. Like by giving up the security of the office, I actually did better. I made more. I didn't never made a lot of income in my life, but I made a lot more when I was on the road teaching workshops than I would have if I was stuck in the office trying to fill my Reiki practice. So it just kind of worked out on all levels to honor myself.
I love
Sorry
that.
if I went off on one there. It's
No,
kind of my
no,
favorite topic. So
the lessons you just shared in that were just incredible. And you know, like I kind of think a little outside the box like you do too. And I
yeah,
remember
I know you do.
years ago, there was a store at Yorkdale. I live near Yorkdale Mall,
Yes.
and it's called Coach, right? They sell leather handbags and really high end, you know,
Yeah.
products. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be a cool store at Yorkdale to go
Yeah.
into Coach, but instead of bags, you had a Reiki practitioner you could see, you had a coach, you had maybe a psychotherapist, maybe you had a massage, and then you come out renewed and refreshed and
Love it.
yeah.
I
So
love it.
like
And
that,
coffee in the corner, and someone
yes,
is delivering fresh croissants.
yeah,
And there's a place here where people can gather without their coach,
yeah,
just to meet each other and all. Oh yeah. See?
and
Place
discussion
design.
groups, right? So it's like, why not take that to the retail space, right? At
Well,
that,
exactly. Yeah, that's right. Take it to a space where it wouldn't normally be, and it
yeah,
instantly stands out. And plus, you bring up a great point too. When people who have not ever accessed coaching or alternative health, a lot of my clients are holistic
sure,
practitioners. For people on the outside of those worlds looking in, it's very confusing. And let's say you got someone looking for an alternative health practitioner because they have some kind of illness has come up and it's scary. And what do I do? Do I need a Reiki master or do I need a naturopathic doctor or do I need this or do I need? I don't know. A place like yours, I'm kind of mixing metaphors, but if you had a place like yours for holistic work, then it's like a curated experience. You come in and there's a concierge that say, "What's your problem?" Well, here's how we strategize all these alternative health things. So, translate what I just said to what you just said is that there's an advantage there to someone from the outside looking in, as they don't have to pick Alex over David or over the psychotherapist over whatever, because they're all here. And what matters, you coming in the door. That's what
yeah,
matters. And we're going to work out how to
yeah,
help.
exactly. I love,
And also that can be created online. Your place can be conceptual as much as real too.
yeah,
And so big dream programs online, I don't have a storefront, and yet it still sort of operates as a
yeah,
cohesive thing.
yeah. This is, I'm really enjoying our chat today. You mentioned in your previous answer that internally inside you had outgrown doing a Reiki practice at home. And is that part of the thing that happens to us in order for us to get to our
Oh, oh,
that
that's
that the
such a good question.
dissatisfaction and the oh, I'm so done with this.
Yeah.
Needs to. It's like our soul wants to come out. And
Isn't that the case? And so everything in nature around us, most things, I suppose, sort of grow indefinitely until they don't, a tree, for instance.
mhm,
And yet the way we approach, especially work life, maybe other things in life too, but work life is that when something is just not doing it for us anymore, usually we assume the problem is us. And it is a problem. We assume that I just don't care anymore, or I'm not passionate enough, or I'm not doing whatever. Or the situation simply changed. I was working in this and I was happy, but now the people have changed or something has changed. And this idea of what if it's not a problem? What if this is what's supposed to happen? You've simply outgrown your pot. My wife is a wonderful gardener and has plants all over the house as well. And she knows full well when a plant has outgrown its pot. And if it's struggling, it's not the plant's fault. It's in too small of a pot, right? And so why would the same rules not apply to us? In fact, why are they not a sign that you've been very successful with your choices? If you outgrew them, you must have made pretty good choices, in some ways. So, yes, question it. Yes, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, look after your finances, as risk and all of that. But was it, I like Sir Richard Branson's something he said, something like I love I'm paraphrasing terribly. Something like I love to do new things and make choices, and I just cover my ass when I'm doing them, sort of thing. So he works out, can I survive this if it fails? Yes or no? Okay, yes. In this way, I can survive it if it fails. Okay, let's go. Let's try it.
Yeah,
You know?
I love it. Now, before our interview, we had a call, you and I, about 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we talked, and you mentioned it in your two answers ago, about doing the inner work and the outer work to access our greatness or our divine calling or avocation. Talk to us about what that looks like, starting with working on our inner self and then our outer self. Why is this
Yeah.
uh, an important concept to
I
get to where we would like to be?
I love this question, David. And can I say that for the first half of my life, let's say, I didn't think too much about an inner life. I wasn't attracted to things like meditation. I thought yoga was for people from another planet. Like I was just a normal commercial diver guy, and I wasn't into any of this stuff. Life forced it on me. And so I was coming apart on the inside for all kinds of reasons, like nearly everybody does
Yeah,
at
we
some
all
point.
have them in, right?
Yeah, and I had to turn to meditation and things like that, and kicking and screaming, frankly, and thinking it was all bullshit, but having to do something, and finally ending up in a Reiki class, and it fucking changed my life, David. I went in the least likely person to ever complete this weekend class, let alone do anything with it afterwards. I went on to do it for a living for years. I adored it because it made such a difference in me. Number one thing it made is within 2 weeks of that first course, I had this feeling in my chest I never had before. It was a kind of a freedom and a spaciousness, and I didn't know what to attribute it to because anyway, so I've just kicking and screaming. I've had these changes in my life. If we fast forward to now, where I've been working with people on their big dreams, and including myself for 20 years, I have a lot of conviction behind what I'm about to say, so don't let me steamroller the listener if they feel otherwise. But I think it's a 50-50 inner game and outer game in parallel, not one before the other, but in parallel. You're trying to figure out your dream or make something happen, make anything happen, even if it's not your dream, but ideally it's your dream, what you're working towards, and bring 50% inner work into it. And that's everything from meditation to shaking to therapy to try new things, try ecstatic dance or something, try getting your body moving. Think about it through this lens is what if your next best idea or your next breakthrough that you're struggling you can't find is in your body somewhere and you have to move it out. If you think through that lens, all of a sudden, then you even move differently through the world. And what I've just discovered over the years is the clients who do that get where they want to go far more quickly or figure out where they want to go in the first place. And those who do not struggle for a lot longer. The other thing that I've come to a conviction of is that I think this is going to sound very hippie, but I sure do believe it, David, is that I think our big dreams are trying to heal us. I think that's why we have them.
Right.
So if you've been dreaming of a business or you've been dreaming of moving out of the city into the country, if you've been dreaming of writing a song, finishing that book, and you've been dreaming of it for a long time, and you don't know, am I just being selfish? Am I being whatever? I don't know, maybe, but I think it's worth trying because it's as soon as we start walking towards that thing, it's not about making the thing happen or not. Yes, I really want you to make the thing happen. That is the icing on the cake and half the cake too. But it's who you become on the way there. And so every single person that nails what they want to do is going to have to wander through stage fright, imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Am I worth it? Things they didn't even struggle with before.
Yeah.
And all of a
What
sudden
if
they're
I
struggling.
fail, or what if it doesn't work?
Why? Yeah. And my take on it, to be brief, is my take on it is I used to play music on stage. I'm not very good, but I used to do it.
Okay.
And if you take two musicians, one of them spends the whole winter learning all the Beatles tunes and the favorite crowd favorite tunes. Another musician spends the winter writing their own songs. Both of them get up in some pub in the spring for their
Mhm.
gig. After preparing all winter, who's going to be the more nervous? The one with the crowd favorites or the one playing the music from their heart? And I think it's going to be the second one. Why? Because if the audience rejects that,
They-
it's
they-
visceral,
mhm.
you know? And so I think that's why all of these things come up. And I think they're a sign that we're on the right track. And therefore, what would a compassionate person do? They would make sure the person gets the inner work they need to go along with it because it's going to happen.
Right. And I follow a guy named Kyle Cease on YouTube, and he's a big meditator. And
Ah,
he said, I get my best ideas when I'm meditating. So that's the inner work, right?
that's it. And I shared an example earlier of Diane with her group of women writers.
Right.
Her business she saw in a vision in one of the meditations in the class. So I have a 94 lesson, 11,000 word curriculum. It's giant. It's big. It does the job. And there are meditations sprinkled within it. She got more out of that one meditation that took 11 minutes than she did probably the rest of the curriculum. And so there's an example. Like it's just more efficient. If it gets to the right spot, she just saw it and she made it happen within weeks. And so I think that's what's possible with the inner work. But even if the inner work is slow, we're still going to need it. Like it builds up to the day when you go, oh, thank goodness I did that
Mm.
because it helped me today on the day I needed it.
Yeah, and it adds calm to your life and
Yes,
balance.
I was just reading Mark Carney's book, by the way, our new prime minister, new-ish. Values was the name of the book, but he mentioned in the book that he meditates every day, or he attempts to, and that he really notices the difference when he doesn't, you know. And the Christina Figueres, am I pronouncing her name right? I'm suddenly on the wondering here, but she was the architect of the Paris Accord, Climate Accord, you know, and she was, I think, kind of a secret student of Thich Nhat Hanh, the monk, and
Wow.
whose name I'm also probably butchering right now. I'm used to reading these, not saying them out loud. But she used a lot of the principles that she had learned from the Buddhist meditation and his particular school when dealing with the national cohorts before the actual conference took place. So all these stories of people in not just normal positions, but in high positions who depend on inner work in order to do something in the world. His book Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet, again, Thich Nhat Hanh. Um, so sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name.
Okay.
Yeah, same idea. So I think if it's true for them, then why wouldn't it be true for us with more modest
Yeah.
dreams and goals? Speaking for myself, it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who said it was all bullshit, you know, earlier in
Right.
life. So I think I have a little bit of credibility to here.
Yeah. I totally agree. You're listening to the Big Venture Zone, the success show for Gen Z entrepreneurs and founders. I'm your host, David Cohen. We're with the fabulous, I might add, Alex Baisley. Just send money after, okay?
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
he's our guest this week, and we're talking about work, living your gifts, and a more fulfilled life, which Alex guides you to do with his Big Dream program. Um, I I want to ask, like, maybe give some practical wisdom for Gen Zs. How do you coach a client who is unsure, has doubt and fear about the future as far as taking that bold step towards living,
Yeah.
the big dream?
Well, now, and I do have a thought, of course, but I'm
Okay.
also realizing that you do tremendous work in this area. So take whatever I say, take whatever David says first, and add this to it if you like it. He's probably saying this anyway, is what I tell my clients because of really hard lessons in the past where I really screwed up, is micro step your way forward with micro experiments. And so here's an example. You have this grand idea. I want to get women together to, a lot of my clients are women. So that's always the example I'm using. Doesn't matter. You want to get a group of people together. You're a therapist. You want to get a group of people together and you want to do your therapy session or a workshop out in the forest instead of in the office. And you think, maybe this is my new thing. Like I want to do this forever, but I'm paying X for the office and people are expecting me in the office and stuff like that. How about try one workshop? It's a micro step. And here's how I would do it is float it out. I call it a float out. Float it out to your email list or your group of whomever you have listening to you and say, I'm thinking of this idea. I've been thinking of it quite a long time, and here's why. Here's my argument for it. I don't know if it's a good idea or not a good idea, so therefore I'm floating it out to all of you. Basically, is any of you interested in giving this a shot with me, a pilot test, and it's either free or it's 50% off or something, some kind of perk sweetener because it's an experiment and see what happens. So most of the people going through the Big Dream program who kind of get ideas for their thing, but how can you be absolutely certain until you're actually doing it with people? Most of these dreams involve other people. How can you know until you're doing it with people? A float out, a micro test. And if you word it in just such a way, then you don't burn a bridge. You don't look like a fool if it doesn't work out. You said you were going to try it. People weren't interested. You move on. Like it's so easy to micro step your way forward. That's the mistake I made before is, and I bet you some of your listeners too, would be that I work for 6 months on my new idea in secret. And I don't tell anybody, hours and hours and hours, and I don't spend money promoting what I'm supposed to be promoting, and therefore my income going down. And then I come out with the thing, and then it's lackluster, or nobody likes it, or I don't like it after a couple of months, like worse again. And so I just don't do it anymore. My challenge to clients is if you have a new idea and you really like it, and it sort of sits well with who you are, it's not just out of the blue, it feels aligned with you, float it out within 3 days in a very tiny launch, very tiny, and just see what happens. And then if it's not 3 days and it's 7 days, fine. But don't spend 6 months at it, until. And plus, the people that actually show up, if it goes ahead, like I picture in my mind now of a client who had 3 women show up to her thing in her backyard. What they told her during the thing and after the thing completely expanded her idea of what she thought the thing was. And so it was the input of those people that
Yeah.
actually made the thing what it could be. And so I'm not sure we can even think our way there without other people providing that sort of nourishment for the thing in the world.
Yeah.
So that's one thing
I,
is to try not wait more than 3 days if you can help it
right.
and float it out in front of somebody.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I do surveys actually, little survey monkeys, 10 questions,
Perfect.
what you think, and test, and don't be afraid of research, and don't be afraid to hear no. I don't like that idea, because okay, then what would you like? You're
Right.
the people you're serving can offer some really good insights to help you.
Well, isn't that true, David? And also the Who's, we touched on it earlier, I think, or it was on my mind earlier, was just that what if my thing is I'm a jazz musician, but the only people I know are in the country western bar. And what if I just don't realize that, It sounds silly on the surface, but we're doing that in business all the time without realizing we're doing it. And so I play my heart out in this bar, and they're throwing popcorn at me and they're saying, please stop. And so if I'm doing a survey in that bar, or I'm doing a float out or an attempted workshop or a pilot test in that bar, it's going to go poorly for me. And I'm going to think, I didn't find my thing. Are you sure? Or are you in the wrong bar right now, And so the person walks down the street, oh my God, there's such a thing as a jazz bar, and they walk in and they're the hero. Like, where did this cool glass of water walk in from? Like, you're incredible. And so I think finding our who's, both it just makes our life better if we're working with the right who's. As you know, David, that's why you choose the audience that you do.
Yeah,
Same here.
yeah, yeah.
So that's an important part of the ingredients when we're floating things out is make sure you're not the jazz musician in the country bar.
Or adjust your song, instead of saying "Fly me to the moon," maybe it's
That's
"Fly
right.
me to the
Or adjust
corral."
your sound.
Let me hang out with the horses. You know.
Exactly.
In
That's
other
right.
words, I'm a cowboy. It might work. Who knows? But
David, I can see you can thrive in either bar. See,
yeah,
that's a different story altogether.
yeah. Well, maybe you and I should play together or something. I got a couple of questions left. And do you have an example of a client you work with to have trust, faith, and belief, and to get out of the dark thoughts and the negative beliefs about themselves that actually would sabotage their success and their transformation from even happening? Like, do you have a quick success story?
I have a lot of them actually, but you know what? What occurs to me is that if I name the person, then I'm going to be sharing their therapy, in there. So what I think I would answer that instead would be social is often the solve for that. Or at least it's an important ingredient.
Mm,
How about we expect those dark thoughts to come up? How about we expect them to be natural, and how about we expect them to come up even more so the closer we are to our heart's calling,
right.
like the singer singing their own songs in the pub that we talked
Yeah.
about earlier. If we expect that to happen, I talked about therapy and getting help but I think that's why we have social accountability, such as running groups, such as writers groups, such as masterminds, such as follow your dream kind of groups.
Mm,
It's not just like a therapist or someone specialized who can help us, but I think it's doing something together that helps put the dark thoughts in perspective. They don't go away, but if it was a writing group, I'm still going to show up and write, even if I think I'm a terrible writer. It's the social accountability that helps a lot. And also the other answer to the question is I don't know any client who has not gone through what you said. I share sometimes with my clients, I don't know if I should say this out loud or not, I've started to the last year, is that when I'm working with a client and they're not terrified by what the idea that they come up with, or they're excited for about,
yeah.
half a day, and
Yeah.
then, oh my God,
I've got to do it.
some version of terrified kicks in. I have found that if that doesn't kick in, then I can almost guarantee I'll hear from them again in about 2 years. They disappear for a while because they've got their thing, right? The job done. But it's shocking. I can almost set my watch by it that I will hear from them again within 1 to 2 years. It's often about 2 years, and
Mm,
they'll go, "That wasn't it," and now I wasted 2 years. And so I'm not answering your question frontally, but I'm trying to wrap my arms around it and say, expect that to be normal and expect it to be even more normal if we're following our dreams, because I think our dreams are messages from the inside of us saying,
yeah.
walk towards that, and you
Yeah.
will find the places inside you that have always wanted more love or more of your attention or more of you or a pat on the back, or the parts of you that have been neglected will show up on the journey there. It's like a pilgrimage. You're walking a pilgrimage on the Camino or something. These things are supposed to come up. That's the nature of a pilgrimage.
Yeah. And then you're being like there's self-love, you practice self-love and
Or
also
you have to learn it. Yeah.
parenting your inner child who's
Yeah.
having
Right.
these spirits. Yeah, but I don't know, When
I'm
I was
having
a
them right.
kid, somebody told me I sucked at singing country songs,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly that. And I'm having them right now. I don't think we outgrow these things. In
No.
fact, I think if we're pursuing, like even a musician, of course, continues to try new things, our famous bands, I don't know, pick U2 or somebody, put out a new album, it's a bit experimental, they must be terrified,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, our whole careers could go down here. Um, where am I going there? Oh yeah, I'm having the same thing now. I'm broadening into a new audience that I should have 10 years ago. I love to bits, and yet I'm terrified of them. I'm not even going to tell you who it is because I'm scared. Like, I have stage fright, and that tells me that there's a pretty good chance I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
But just in case I'm not, I'm going to micro test it. I'm going to wander into that arena as in baby steps, see how it goes.
I'm doing the same thing. My last question is we've been through a lot of change over the past 6 years in work,
Yes,
career,
because this is
business.
audio, no one can see the gray in my beard.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been around for a little while.
yeah. Or I don't have hair. But anyway, I'm sure they can imagine. But we've been through a lot of change, in our career and businesses, life in general. What have you seen happen over the past 6 years as far as choosing a career dream, goes, especially the last 6 years? Because it's just been unrelenting.
Yeah, yeah, it has. Twofold, and they're almost opposite. One is people dealing with more depression and paralysis and world worry paralysis, that kind of the types of
Mhm.
folks that I work with is a data set of people that are basically trying to save the world, and then they
Yeah,
may not
yeah,
use that language, and therefore the world is, is tough.
Yeah.
Maybe it always has been, and we're just becoming more aware of it. Doesn't matter. I won't go down that road, but it's so extra tough. But at the same time, I'm finding people too, a couple of things, extra brave emotionally. They're coming out, change makers are coming out of the woodwork because they feel forced to, in a way, like internally, at least from inside themselves, like I can't stay silent anymore. I have to do something. I'm thinking of that quote that I'll bungle, but folks will know it. It was Desmond Tutu, I think, said something about we need to save people that have fallen in the river and they're drowning, but someone needs to go upriver and find out why they're falling in.
Ooh.
And I think a lot of our businesses are not on the front lines. Some of us are, but a lot of us are not the firefighters on the front lines, and yet somehow feel like we're supposed to be, or we need to be somehow, some kind of, brave activist or saver. And yet a lot of us have that sort of long, less obvious work of going upriver and doing the long, slow, patient work of figuring out why people are falling in and seeing if we have something to offer that might help them or at least their kids not fall in. And so all the work I do is for the in my heart, I don't work with kids, but my heart is I'd like to make a contribution to the world so it's better for the kids 20 years from now, 40 years from now. Who can I support that is going upriver right now? Well, the savers too, but the ones who are going upriver to do that. So it's people who are being brave because of what they see, also people who are suffering internally because of what they see, which requires a lot of nuance and therapy, and it can't be glossed over.
Yeah.
And one more thing is that people in my small data set are less imprisoned by old concepts of career and how to live your life. They tend to be a little more creative and yeah, unencumbered by I need to pick a career for life kind of stuff. 15 years ago, people still needed to pick a career for life that came to me. And so that was a thing that had to be talked about when they're trying something new. That never comes up anymore.
No.
So things like that. So some things are easier, David. Some things, of course, are harder.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, Alex. And yeah, I agree. Like, the old, I'm going to work here until I retire and get the old watch. Well, those days are gone, and, for the most part.
For the odd person might want it and the odd person might find it. And I bless their heart if they do, but a lot don't want it. And even if they do want it, they can't get it. So
That's knowing yourself, knowing your inner self.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And
And
then,
and perhaps not being so entitled, I'm speaking of myself and they're not so entitled to think the world is supposed to work the way you want it to work as well. So it's a kind of a relationship, right? I want to do my thing, but I have to work with what's here. That's what humans have had forever, I guess, is to work with what's here.
oh, this is great. Just, the hour's gone like that.
Yeah, yeah, it has.
And
It
I had a
has.
couple of other things. I wanted to do a little guided meditation, but you know what that means? I'm going to have you back.
Okay,
So,
okay, that sounds
but
great.
where do we reach you, Alex, to work with you? And by the way, for those listening, it was Alex Baisley of the Big Dream program. Yeah, so where do we get in touch with you to work with you?
Oh, thanks, David. Thanks for the chance for a little plug there.
Yeah.
www.bigdreamprogram.com. So that's the one-stop shop for everything to reach me. And on the homepage, you'll find the full tale of the two barbers. That if anybody's interested in my work, I'd say start there. It's a 13-minute story of these two barbers, and it goes on from there. So that would be the place to find me, bigdreamprogram.com.
So important, that story, and it reminds me of the two wolves. Like which one
Yes.
are you going to choose, the antelope
Yes.
or yeah, it depends on which one you feed. Yeah, Alex, this was great. Again, thank you so much. That was Alex Baisley, everybody, from the Big Dream program. He joined us by phone in Western Ontario today, right? You're in the western part.
Southwestern, I'm an
Western.
hour west of you. Yeah, I'm in Guelph.
Okay. Beautiful country, by the way,
Yeah,
like geography wise.
it is.
Yeah. Next week on Your Big Venture, we're going to have a pool party. Well, not a real pool party because we're going to be on Zoom, but we're going to do a roundtable discussion on ideas, success, and business strategy that works. We're going to keep it light because it's summer and we need to have a pool party. So have a good week, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Big Venture Zone. Remember to like, comment, and share this on YouTube. And just do well this week and enjoy the Canada Day and summer. And Alex, again, a joy to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
My,
Thank you.
my
That pool
pleasure.
party sounds fun.
I know if you want to come back, just let me know.
Yep.
We'll
Yep.
throw you in the pool party.
Sounds good.
All right, bud.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Take care, David.
Cheers. You too.
Bye.